All right. Shalom. Welcome. Glad y'all can make it. I know it's a work night, school night. So it's not going to be a long class. Tonight's the new moon, as y'all know. Let's go through that real quick. Numbers 10.
The book of Numbers, chapter 10 and verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginning of your months, ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God.
So we blow over the trumpets at the beginning of our month. This is the beginning of our month. It says blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings. All right? And it says it'll be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. All right? It's a solemn day. Every new moon is a solemn day, a holy day. All right? That begins the month. Let's get Psalms 81 verse 3.
From the book of Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day.
So let's blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. So the new moon's a feast day. All right? Read on.
For this was a statute for Israel and the law of the God of Jacob.
So it's a law that we observe this feast. We're allowed, not allowed to buy and sell, but we are allowed to cook on this day. All right? Now, let's get on Sirach. No, 143.
This is from the book of Ecclesiasticus, the book of Sirach.
All right, but it said that the new moon, we're doing the new moon feast. All right? Sirach 43. No, yeah.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for decoration of times and a sign of the world.
So he made the moon to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. A declaration of times and a sign of the world. Read on.
From the moon is the sign of feast.
That's why I said in verse 6, a declaration of times, because it declares when we are to keep the feast, the high holy day feast, the Passovers, the Pentecost, the Tabernacles, the Nicanors, the Day of Simons, the Purims. It declares those feasts. All right? Not the Sabbath. It's a dumb doctrine. It makes no damn sense. That doctrine is simple as hell. It declares the feast days. All right? Read on.
A light that decreaseth in her perfection.
A light that decreaseth in her perfection. But the increases and decreases. It has cycles where it goes real bright to real dark. Like today, it's dark. It's a new moon. Go ahead.
Verse 8. The month is called after her name.
So the word moon, we get the word month. The month is called after her name. All right? Read on.
Increasing wonderfully in her changes.
Because earlier it said it decreaseth. Now it's telling you that it increased. Why? Because there's a cycle. From increasing to decreasing. From decreasing to increasing. Go ahead.
Being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
Leviticus 23. I don't want that thought in your mind that the new moon declares Sabbath days. Okay? Because anyone who's following that doctrine is not keeping the Sabbath at all anyway.
That's right.
They ain't keeping it at all. That's just a way to go to the club and buy and sell and be a coon in the scriptures. Leviticus 23. No, stop in verse 1.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 1.
Now to cut that doctrine, you start from verse 1 and work your way all the way down to verse 4. That's what destroys this doctrine. Read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feasts of the Lord.
Concerning what?
The feasts of the Lord.
Concerning the feasts, that's plural, of the Lord. Come on.
Which he shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts.
Which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. It's plural again. So he's speaking of all the feast days entirely in verse 2. This is the introduction to the entire chapter. Read on.
Verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest.
So the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest. Watch this.
A holy convocation.
And a holy convocation. That's by itself. Come on.
Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. In all your dwellings, the 7th day is the Sabbath day, including in your slavery, which is here Saturday. Read on. Verse 4 now. Watch this.
These
Stop. Read again.
These.
Stop. These Now, verse 3 is the Sabbath. Now he's going to go into verse 4 now. Read.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
So the Sabbath day is not a feast day that is declared according to its season. That's a weekly Sabbath. Verse 4 says these change out the new paragraph. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. Psalms 104 verse 19. Let's see what declares the feasts in their seasons. That's a sign of feasts, a declaration of times.
This is from the book of Psalms, chapter 104 and verse 19. Psalms 104 and verse 19. He appointed the moon for seasons.
For what?
For seasons.
For seasons. Feast days in their seasons. That's the moon is a declaration of times for. Feast days in their seasons. Not weekly. Go ahead.
The sun knoweth his going down.
That's it. So the sun has its job, the moon has its job. The moon declares the feast days that are in their season, seasonal feast days. All right, Passover. There's another. I'm gonna give you an example. One more. Exodus, real quick. I'm gonna give you an example. Give me a moment. I want to find it. 12.
So it's very important that we study these scriptures so when people come with doctrines outside of this, we can cut them down and rebuild them. Because they've been polluted by doctrines that have been taught by men. We read in the scriptures, the Most High is telling us through His Word exactly how to bring in these feast days. There's no confusion here. The confusion comes when you listen to so-called Negroes that think that they know something, but they don't know nothing.
Exodus 13 verse 10. This is going into Passover. You can read it on your own. Exodus 13 and 12 is going into the Passover. We'll read 13 verse 10. Watch this.
Exodus chapter 13 and verse 10. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year.
In his what?
In his season from year to year.
In his season from year to year. The Passover is a feast day that is declared by the moon in its season, as all the others except the Sabbath day, which is the weekly. 6 days you work, 7th day you rest. Now, that clears up any confusion about that new moon, break the Sabbath doctrine. Anyone who keeps that doctrine is not keeping the Sabbath. Because every month the Sabbath changes from one day to the next. You cannot go to your job and go, listen boss, I'm off. My Sabbath is next month. No, it ain't working. You're not keeping that job. You're going to work on the Sabbath or lose your job. One or the other. All right, let's have their own business, and that's still off because the Bible tells you that the new moon declares the feast, seasonal feast.